I want to start today with a bit of a confession. A mea culpa, really. A few weeks ago, a friend called me. She was just spiraling, completely panicked about a work thing.
Mm-hmm.
And she's crying, she's looping, saying the same stuff over and over about her boss and how unfair it all was.
Right.
And I was listening, but I have to be honest, I wasn't really listening. I was waiting.
Waiting for your turn to speak.
Worse. I was waiting for her to take a breath so I could fix it. In my head, I was like a mechanic looking at this broken engine. I'm thinking, oh, I see the loose wire. I know exactly what you did wrong. You didn't document the email thread.
Mm.
And the second she paused to, blow her nose, I jumped in. I hit her with this perfect logical 3-step plan. And I felt great. I felt helpful. I felt like I was nailing this friendship thing.
And let me guess, she didn't thank you for it.
She told me she had to go and just hung up. And I sat there thinking, what just happened? I gave you the answer key. I just saved you 3 weeks of stress.
It is such a universal experience, though. You feel like you're handing them a life raft, but they look at you like you just threw a brick at their head.
Exactly. And it's frustrating for us, the fixers, too. We leave feeling so misunderstood. So why does that happen? Why does our help feel so hostile?
Well, that's what we're diving into.
Today, we are answering that. We're doing a deep dive into a psychological framework that gives this specific impulse a name. And honestly, the name is a little ridiculous.
It is.
It's called the moral parrot.
It sounds funny, but it's actually dead serious. And alongside the parrot, we're going to meet his natural enemy, the male seahorse.
A parrot and a seahorse. It sounds like a weird zoo, but after going through the research, this is probably one of the most useful communication tools I've seen in a long time. So let's start with the bird. Who is this moral parrot living in my head?
So the moral parrot is that part of your psyche that mimics standards. Think about what a real parrot does. It just repeats things it's heard.
Phrases, rules.
Exactly. Rules, laws. In a human context, the moral parrot is the part of you that speaks in these universals. It loves to say things like, you just need to respect yourself, or chaos comes from a lack of discipline.
Or my favorite, if you want different results, you have to do things differently.
That's a classic parrot line.
Okay, but devil's advocate here. Those things aren't wrong. Usually when I'm giving advice, I'm right. If my friend had documented her emails, she wouldn't be in trouble. So why is the parrot the bad guy?
The parrot isn't the bad guy because of what it says. It's the antagonist because of why it shows up.
Okay.
And this is the part of the research that really blew my mind. It suggests the moral parrot doesn't appear because you're arrogant or you want to show off how smart you are. It appears because your brain is terrified of chaos.
Wait. So my advice giving, it isn't confidence. It's a fear response.
Precisely. Think about your friend on the phone. She's crying. Her story is all over the place.
Circular. Irrational.
Yeah. To the analytical part of your brain, that raw emotion just looks like entropy. It looks like a mess. And we have this deep, deep evolutionary drive to organize messes.
It's like walking into a room and seeing a painting that's just a little bit crooked on the wall. You just have to straighten it.
Exactly that. You can't focus on anything else until that painting is straight. When someone pours what the source calls undigested emotion on you, your moral parrot wakes up and thinks, okay, if I can just apply a rule here, if I can just find the right answer, the chaos will stop.
So I'm not really trying to help her. I'm trying to make myself feel comfortable by tidying up the room.
That's the harsh truth of it. The parrot believes that understanding will stop the pain.
Right.
If I can just explain to you why you're hurting logically, then the hurting should just cease.
Which, as anyone who has ever been sad knows, is absolutely not how feelings work.
Not at all.
If I burn my hand, explaining the thermodynamics of heat doesn't stop the stinging.
Not even close. But here's the trap, and this is why the parrot is so seductive for us. When you are giving that advice, quoting standards, pointing out the logic, how did you feel in your body?
Honestly, I felt lucid. I felt calm. I felt like the adult in the room.
Right. It makes you feel mature. You feel safe because you're on the side of... Right. But think about the consequence for the person listening, for your friend.
Well, she felt judged.
She felt scrutinized. The framework calls it being worked on rather than being with.
Oof. Worked on.
Yeah. You turned her into a project. And the irony is, usually deep down, we know better. We know we should just listen. But the moral parent cannot stand the silence. It feels like the silence is dangerous, so it just fills it with a lecture.
It really is an itch. You know you shouldn't scratch it,
Yeah.
but the silence is so loud you just have to say something smart to break that tension.
And that leads to isolation. Because eventually, people just stop telling you things. Not because you're not smart, but because they don't want a seminar. They want a connection.
Okay, so we've identified the problem. The moral parrot is my analytical brain trying to organize the mess. So what's the move? Kill the parrot? Do I just suppress that part of me and become like a nodding bobblehead?
No, and I'm glad you asked that because the solution isn't to become passive. The twist in the material is you don't eliminate the moral parrot. You actually need him.
We need him.
He's your critical thinking. He's your judgment. If you kill the parrot, you lose your ability to tell right from wrong.
So we don't fire him. We just demote him.
It's a reassignment. Think about a newspaper. You have the reporters out in the field, and you have the editor sitting at a desk in the back.
Okay, I like this analogy.
The problem right now is that your parrot is grabbing the microphone and broadcasting live. We need to move him to the editor's desk.
From speaker to editor. Okay, let's unpack what that actually looks like in a conversation.
So imagine your internal self, the conscious manager of your brain. When that urge to preach comes up, the self has to step in. The source provides this internal dialogue script that I found really helpful. The self says to the parrot, I see you want to fix this, I note that. But right now, we need safety, not correctness.
You need safety, not correctness. That sounds great on a coffee mug, but in the heat of an argument, that feels almost impossible to remember.
It is hard, but that's where the job description changes. You tell the parrot, you are no longer the speaker, you are the editor.
Okay.
And the rule of the editor is this. He holds a red pen, not a mic. He listens to the story, he analyzes it, and he asks himself, if I must speak, what is the sentence that causes the least damage?
The least damage. So it's harm reduction.
Yes. So the parrot might be screaming in your head, he is totally wrong. Look at how he's sabotaging himself. He's acting like a child.
Right. That's the raw draft.
That's the raw draft. The editor, the reassigned parrot, takes that red pen and changes it to, it seems this situation makes you very tired.
Wow. That's a massive shift. You go from an accusation to a validation, but, and this is key, you're still using your analytical brain to identify the emotion. You're not faking it.
Exactly. You're not playing dumb. You're just using your high intelligence to curate safety instead of curating a lecture.
But sometimes, even with a great editor, we need a totally different energy, not just edited judgment. And this is where the second character comes in. I was really struck by this imagery. Enter the male seahorse.
The male seahorse.
I have to admit, when I first read that, I laughed.
Yeah.
Why a seahorse and why a male one?
It's specific for a reason. In nature, the male seahorse is the one that carries the eggs. It has a pouch where the babies develop.
It carries the vulnerability.
Yes. The imagery here is all about protection, holding space, and shielding that fragility from the harsh outside world.
The source material has this visual metaphor that I think is so helpful. It says to picture the male seahorse holding a baby, which represents the pain or the sadness, and turning its back to the outside world to shield it.
Mm-hmm.
And meanwhile, the parrot is standing behind yourself, holding a notebook.
That positioning is key. The seahorse is the front line. Its only job is safety and healing. It doesn't care about logic. It cares about the baby, the emotion.
It turns its back on the right and wrong of the world to protect what's fragile.
Exactly.
But these two characters, the parrot and the seahorse, they don't naturally get along, do they?
Yeah, they're natural enemies in a way. The parrot wants order, truth, structure. The seahorse wants safety, connection.
Right.
And if you don't have a strong manager, you're self-directing traffic, they will fight for the steering wheel. And usually the parrot wins.
Why?
Because it's louder and faster.
So how do we stop the fight? What's the protocol? Because I can see myself getting confused. Do I be the bird? Do I be the fish?
The framework suggests a very strict hierarchy, almost like a medical triage protocol. Rule number 1.
In someone else's sadness, the seahorse goes first.
Always.
Always. Okay, I have to push back on that. What if it's an emergency? What if my friend is about to text her toxic ex-boyfriend who stole her money? Do I really just sit there like a seahorse and say, I hear your pain? Don't I have a duty to stop her?
That is the million-dollar question. The distinction is between imminent danger and emotional processing.
Oh.
If your friend is about to drink poison, you tackle them, that's imminent danger. But Texting an ex, that's usually emotional processing.
So I have to let her make the mistake.
You have to let her feel safe enough to process why she wants to make the mistake. If you jump in with, don't do it, he's a thief, her parrot will just fight your parrot, and she'll probably text him just to spite you.
Oh, wow.
But if you start with the seahorse, you're really missing him right now, huh?
Yeah.
You lowered the defenses.
It's so counterintuitive. We think logic stops the behavior, but actually, safety dissolves the drive behind it.
That's it. So the decision tree is, question 1, is the person in pain? If yes, seahorse keeps the mic.
Okay, so when does the parrot get a turn?
The parrot has to pass a test. It has to ask itself, is there a way to say this observation without adding pain? If the answer is no, the parrot stays silent. It just takes notes.
And what if the friend actually asks for advice? What if she looks at me and says, what should I do?
That is the only time the gate opens. But even then, the research advises caution. It says the parrot should whisper one short sentence.
One sentence.
Under 10 words. Not a lecture, just a gentle nudge.
Under 10 words. That's really hard for a parrot. My parrot wants to write a dissertation.
It is hard. But the mantra to remember is, in suffering, I choose to embrace first, correct later.
Embrace first, correct later. Okay, this all makes sense in the abstract, but I want to get practical because when I'm in that moment, my brain moves so fast, I might not have time to summon the seahorse and demote a parrot before I've already blurted something out. Is there a way to train this?
Yes, and this is my favorite part of the deep dive. The source offers a 10-second ritual. It's a literal step-by-step breakdown of what to do for the first 10 seconds of a response.
Okay, let's walk through it. I want to kind of role play it. My friend just finished a rant. She's staring at me. Seconds 0 to 2. What am I doing?
Seconds 0 to 2. The stop. You do not speak. You purse your lips. You physically stop the mechanism, and you think the thought, not my turn.
Not my turn. Okay, I'm pursing my lips. Probably look a little weird, but I'm silent. Seconds 2 to 4.
The name. You identify the urge. You think, the moral parrot is awake. And this is crucial. No judgment. You don't say, I'm a bad person for wanting to judge her. You just name it. The parrot is up.
Just noticing it creates a little distance, like spotting a cloud. Oh, there's the parrot.
Exactly. Then, seconds 4 to 6, the switch. This is where you mentally hand over power. You think, male seahorse up first, and you try to visualize that image of the seahorse shielding the child.
Okay, I want to pause here. This sounds great, but 10 seconds is a short amount of time. If someone is sitting in front of me, crying, and I'm standing there pursing my lips, visualizing a seahorse and naming a parrot, am I not going to look like I'm having a stroke?
It might feel a little intense internally, yes. But on the outside, what does it look like? It looks like a pause. It looks like you're thinking carefully before you speak.
Which is already an improvement over just blurting out advice.
A huge improvement. And the visualization step, that doesn't take minutes. It's a flash, an intention. You're just flipping a mental toggle switch from fixed to hold.
Okay, so we switched drivers. Seconds 6 to 8.
The anchor.
Yeah.
You use an internal phrase to lock it in, something like, they need safety, not a moral lesson.
And finally, seconds 8 to 10.
The output. You finally open your mouth, but because you've done the prep work, the response is neutral. I'm listening. Or, that sounds really hard.
It feels like a lot of mental gymnastics, but I guess like anything, it becomes muscle memory.
It does. And the framework makes a very forgiving point here. Even if you mess up the steps, just doing the first two, naming the parrot and calling the seahorse, reduces the judgment reflex by about 70%.
70% is huge.
It's the difference between a lecture and a conversation.
It is. But I have to ask about the itch. We touched on it earlier. The moral parrot is smart. It sees the pattern. If I sit there and just say, I'm listening, while my friend is describing how she's about to make the same mistake for the 5th time, I feel physically uncomfortable, like I'm going to explode. The source calls this the itch. How do we manage that?
That is the hardest part. You have all this leftover analytical energy. So the research suggests a few strategies. First, you need some safe responses. These are phrases that buy you time and keep the parrot from hijacking the conversation.
Give me a few. What can I say that satisfies the parrot but doesn't hurt the friend?
Okay, phrase 1. Hearing that, you must be very tired. Notice that. It reflects their state, but it doesn't say they're right or wrong.
It validates the exhaustion, not the logic.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that.
Phrase 2. I'm listening. Keep going if you want. That gives the power back to them. And phrase 3 is my favorite for when you really, really disagree with them.
What is it?
This story
sounds complex.
Story sounds complex. Oh, that is sneaky. I love it.
It's brilliant, right? By acknowledging complexity, you're telling the parrot, look, this is too big for a simple rule. It disarms the need for a quick fix.
So those are the things we say out loud. But what do I do with the screaming bird inside my head? Do I just suffer?
You have to vent it. But, and this is critical, you vent it internally. The source suggests an internal venting session.
How does that work?
After the conversation, or even during a lull, you take 30 seconds to talk to yourself. You let the moral parrot go wild in your own mind. You let it say, she is so wrong, she is being an idiot, the logic is flawed. You let it scream.
You just let it rip.
You let it rip. And then, once it's out, you say to yourself, I heard you. We don't need to say this outside.
It's like letting a toddler have a tantrum in the car so they can be quiet in the grocery store.
That is a perfect analogy. You validate the part of you that sees the truth so it doesn't feel suppressed.
The notes also mention some physical cues, like actual things to do with your body to stop the urge to preach. And one of them made me laugh out loud.
The toes.
The toes. Tell them about the toes.
It sounds silly, but it works. If you're stuck in the moment and the urge to interrupt is overwhelming, curl your toes inside your shoes. Clench them tight.
Why on earth does that help?
It's a distraction, but it also signals the nervous system. It says, we are containing this energy. We are holding on. It breaks that automatic loop of hearing then speaking.
I can just picture it, sitting there, nodding sagely, looking like a supportive friend while my toes are absolutely gripping the floor for dear life.
Hey, whatever keeps the parrot from grabbing the mic. Another one is pressing the tip of your tongue to the roof of your mouth. It physically blocks speech.
That is so practical. I love that.
Yeah.
So let's recap our cast of characters. We have the manager, that's the self. We have the editor, the parrot, reassigned to the back office with his red pen. And we have the nurturer, the male seahorse, who runs the front desk during a crisis.
That's the team. And remember, the goal isn't to be a pushover. The goal is placement.
Right. It's about knowing who should be driving the car.
And I want to reiterate that this urge to correct isn't a flaw. Having a loud moral parrot just means you have a high analytical ability. You're good at spotting patterns. You're sensitive to errors. These are gifts.
But a gift given at the wrong time
Is a weapon. Exactly. The goal isn't to become stupid or blind to reality. The goal is to decide that connection is more important than being right in that specific moment.
It really challenges the ego, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because I like being right. I like being the one who knows the answer.
It does. It requires a lot of confidence to sit there, know the answer, and choose not to say it.
That brings me to the thought I want to leave everyone with today. It's a bit of a challenge. We've talked about the tools, the rituals, the funny animal names, but ultimately this comes down to tolerance.
Tolerance of what?
Tolerance of discomfort. Because it feels good to be the moral parrot. It feels good to be the smartest person in the room. So if you successfully silence the parrot during a conversation, here's the question. Are you able to sit with the discomfort of not being the expert for 10 minutes? Can you handle the feeling of just being a witness purely for the sake of the other person's safety?
That is the real test of friendship. It's not about what you say, it's about what you're willing to hold back.
Something to think about the next time your tongue starts itching and your toes start curling? Thanks for diving in with us.
See you next time.